Good morning, friends. I have my tea here. Good afternoon to you. In this video, I'm going to share about the science of sound and some of the mystical principles associated with, sound, mantra, music, the laws of vibration, the deep and interesting path of working with sound and working with music as a sacred tool for transformation and healing. For those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for being here. I want to introduce myself just for a moment to share who I am and where I'm coming from and what I hope that you get out of this video. My name's Grant. I've been teaching yoga since 2015, and my path with yoga has been a journey of exploring myself, of learning how to heal and transform the energies in me that are not in alignment with nature, as a process of seeking health, balance, harmony, peace, and happiness. I've had a yoga school since 2017. I've graduated 36 students from programs, teacher training programs, through the school that I run here in Costa Rica. And I'm also a musician. I also work with sound. I've been hired for different events around Costa Rica and also internationally, played at festivals in different sets and settings in the ceremonial context, using music as a healing tool and a healing modality. I have my book here that I've been studying. If you've been watching any of the previous videos and the vlogs that I've been doing, this is one of the books that I use to refer to when I'm thinking about and wanting to investigate the traditional sciences related to yoga and tantra. And in this video, I'm going to share some of the findings that I have accumulated over the past 10 plus years of working with sound, working with music, working with the spiritual technology of yoga. I feel like a good place to start is just to kind of lay the groundwork of how sound is a tool for transformation. There's 4 points that I want to make in this video to keep us on track, and I'll do my best to stay focused on each of those points. But I also intend this to be a bit of a discovery process. These videos, the satsangs that I'm doing on this channel, are a chance for me to think out loud and to share on a personal level what has been meaningful and helpful for me as a yoga teacher, but also as a yoga student. I know that some of you out there are either teachers on this path, like you're sharing the wisdom sciences of yoga, and also there are many of you who are practitioners. And I think above all, we're first and foremost students, right? Like we're all students of life, all on this path together of figuring out how to make meaning of everything, how to create a life that's happy and healthy. And it's I think that's the common ground that we share as humans. And in that common ground, and maybe beyond that common ground, is the common ground of music, right? And the laws of music, the laws of vibration and harmony, these are universal laws. When we look at the universality of music, right, like the universal language of music, there's a couple principles that I think we can use to ground that and to have a context that we can all relate to, right? And I think that's important because when it comes to something like yoga, there's it's easy with spirituality to get lost in the whole like dogma of it, I guess you could say, and even spiritual materialism or spiritual egoism. And I think that's missing the point. So going back to music, what I love about music, and you might be able to hear the rain coming down and some of the birds are chirping. The birds like to sing when the rain comes. I mean, the birds like to sing always, right? Little segue. A really beautiful quote that I love is, "A bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song." And I look around and everything in nature, all the insects, all the birds, all the animals, they're making noise. There are sounds emerging from nature. The trees and the breeze, the leaves, the rivers, the ocean. There's this sound that's happening. And at least in the yogic tradition, they consider the sound of creation to be Om, A, U, And why that's important, and I think it'd be good to start there, because Om, A, U, is the seed sound of all of creation. A is the sound of creation, U is the sound of the maintenance of that creation, and then is the sound of the destruction of that creation as it returns back to the infinite cycle of becoming, existing, and disappearing. And this occurs all the way down at the smallest level of a thought. And I apologize if the rain is becoming a little too loud. We'll do our best. Hopefully it doesn't rain too much. As I say that, it starts to rain more. Uh-oh. Okay, we're just gonna go until it cuts us off. And the idea of creation, maintenance, destruction, this exists down at the smallest level, all the way down to a thought. Like a thought comes into existence, and then it exists for a time because we give energy to that thought. And eventually, as soon as we let go of the thought, it disappears, or that thought form disappears, and now there's space for another thought to exist. And this is happening on a microsecond, right? Every moment. And if we pay attention to what thoughts we give our energy to, we start to follow what I believe is the spiritual path, because we start to have attention placed on what are the contents of my awareness, what are the contents of my consciousness, the contents of consciousness. And by paying attention to what are the contents of my consciousness, I can start to direct my thoughts, direct my energy to the thoughts that are more perhaps supportive and uplifting. And if I'm not paying attention to what are the contents of my mind and my consciousness, then sometimes my energy gets absorbed and sucked into thoughts that are not necessarily the most supportive and the most beneficial. And this is what we consider low vibration, right? There's like this idea that there's high vibe and low vibe and mid vibe and side vibe and whatever, right? It's like, but what does that actually mean? And this is where we get into the laws of harmony and the laws of resonance. I don't have my guitar here. Actually, let me grab it so I can give you this example. So with the laws of harmony and the laws of resonance, having a musical instrument would be helpful to demonstrate this. So this is an E note, yeah? Those of you who are not a musician, that's okay. Now you know this is the note E. Right? And then a whole octave higher, which means that it vibrates twice as fast, is the same note, but twice as fast. Faster, right? The string is smaller, so it vibrates at a faster rate of speed. So let's go back to that note, yeah? E. Right? The question that I want to ask is, where did that note exist before I plucked it? Right? Is it in the guitar? Is it in here? Or is it everywhere? And I've just created an instrument that can manifest that sound out of thin air. Right? It's not in here, it's everywhere. And what I'm doing is I'm applying an action of using my finger to pluck the string, which then converts potential energy that is lying in a dormant state, into kinetic energy, energy that is in action. So it's in potential, and I now have an instrument that I can then convert the potential energy into manifestation. Now, why is that so important? That forms the basis for the mystical science of sound, because everything exists as a potential before it is made manifest. You see what I'm saying? The thought, before it is manifest, lies in a dormant state. The thought before it's manifest is in a dormant state. That's really important to kind of conceptualize. The thoughts that might lead me towards a greater state of happiness and health and balance and fulfillment, whatever it is that I'm seeking in life, are there as potentials. But I have to learn how to apply my instrument in a way to manifest, to bring that thought out of the potential state into a kinetic state of activity, of maintenance. Ooh, ah, ooh, So there's the principle of creation, which is the spark of life, right? And I can talk a little bit about Kriya at another time, because Kriya, those of you who are in the path of yoga have maybe heard this word. Kriya is a word in Sanskrit that means completed activity or evolutionary activity. And that word Kriya comes from the root word kra, which is the spark of life. It's the first initiation of something. And this goes to the three principles of the cosmic energy. There's three laws of how things become. They call them the three Shaktis. Shakti is the primordial life force. It's seen as the feminine principle. We have the Shiva and the Shakti. And it's said that there's three Shaktis. There's Kriya, Jnana, and Icha. Kriya, Jnana, and Icha. Action, Kriya, Jnana, knowledge, and Icha, which is something like will or desire. And I'll get back to the Aum and the sound thing in a moment, but I want to take you on this segue through this related topic of the Shaktis. Remember, I'm talking about manifesting something, manifesting a thought, turning potential energy into kinetic energy. In order to pluck the string on the guitar, to manifest that sound of the first step of that is the desire, is the will to do that. You see what I mean? I have to, in order for something, anything to become in this universe, there first is the will, the desire for it to be so. It's really, this is key, and I hope that this is landing, because if I don't possess the will or the / desire to make something manifest, nothing will ever become. It'll remain in its dormant state of being. To transform potential energy into kinetic energy, that's the first step. The will, the desire. That's known as Icha Shakti. Icha Shakti. And then comes, once the desire comes, there's then the Kriya, the action, the activity, which is me choosing to pluck the string. Yeah? That's the Kriya. And then the knowing, the Jnana, is like the, I relate to this as understanding how to do the thing. Right? I can have the desire to do the thing. I can take action on doing the thing. But if I don't take the right action, right? If I want to make an E note, but I pluck the A string, and I'm thinking I want to go, oh, but what I'm creating is off somehow. You see what I mean? I haven't taken the right action. Therefore, my jnana, my knowledge, was incomplete. And this is why in the Bhagavad Gita and other spiritual texts, they talk about how yoga is knowledge. The act of unifying is a form of knowledge. And I want to think about knowledge for a second. Like, what does it mean to know something? We have mental knowing, but is that actually knowing, or is that just a concept that we project? But knowing the note and taking the action to make that, oh, that's true knowledge, right? That's experiential knowledge. It's like experiencing the taste of mango. I know through the direct perception of the thing, of what it is. So what does this all have to do now, going back to the laws of creation and Aum and music and these natural laws? I think it's really key to start to think about, what is it that I'm doing in my life that I could be doing differently for a different result? You see what I mean? This is, I believe, the way that we make spiritual progress. That starts with in examining and observing what is happening in my life, what is being created, and what am I sustaining? What am I putting my energy into? And do I need to change my activity? Do I need to change my focus and put energy into something different to transform potential energy into kinetic energy in a different way? I believe this has to do with the law of resonance. So, as a recap, we just went through, like, the first point that I'm making is that sound is a universal law, that it exists everywhere, all around us, all of the time. And that potential energy turning into kinetic energy is the action that transforms something that's not yet existing into an existent state, from the unmanifest to the manifest. So that's like the first law, right? And now the second law that I want to introduce, and the second point that I want to make, is the point about the law of resonance. And that when things are in resonance, they are attracted to each other because they're waveforms, right? Sound is a waveform. They sync up. And this is why we feel like, oh, I resonate with you, or I resonate with that. Like, if an idea comes into my mind, and I feel resonance with that idea, then my energy starts to move towards that thing. And then by my energy moving towards that thing, my actions start to transform that potential into something that is existing, that is real. And it's like, you know, I don't think we can control the music that we are attracted to, just like we can't really control the people that we're attracted to. We're just attracted to things like sounds that are pleasing to us, art that is aesthetic to us, places that feel good to us. And I believe that as we start to tune our instrument internally, right? This is what the whole path of yoga is about, is learning how to tune our instrument so that we become more harmonious in our being, more in alignment with the laws of life, the laws of nature around us, because it's like the E note, like no one invented the E note. The E note just is. It's like it's like gravity. And if I'm slightly off tune and I'm playing my notes, right? I'm playing my song, I'm living my life, but my song is slightly out of tune with the cosmic principle, I guess you could say, of nature, the cosmic principles of nature, I'm going to feel that in my being. And then I'm going to attract to me people, places, things, experiences that are slightly out of tune. You see what I mean? Because I'm out of tune. And I'm attracted to that which resonates to me. This is, I think, a really important thing to like consider, that, wow, okay, there may be actually principles, natural laws, cosmic sort of order that is beneath all of this. And if I get myself in tune with that, then I experience, you know what I mean? It's like if I play two notes that are out of tune, right? Like, let's say this note is like the environment that I'm in, and then this is the note that I'm playing. They don't really match up. You see what I mean? But that note, by itself, it's fine. It just needs a friend. You see? So that note gets along with that other note. And this note gets along with that note. But it doesn't get along with that note. So this is an example to get you to think that there's an ecosystem, yeah? And it's just like, you can't take a saguaro cactus from Arizona, I'm from the desert in Arizona, and take that saguaro cactus and put it in the jungle. They don't get along, right? The notes don't get along, the vibrations of those things don't get along. But you take that saguaro cactus and you put it in another ecosystem that's like in resonance and vibration to where it's coming from in its family, then it will get along. So this is the ecosystem of sound and vibration that I'm talking about, and I'm using plants as an example, but I hope that it's like conveying the point. Because there's no note by itself that's wrong note. It just needs to find its friend, it needs to find its family, it needs to find that which is in resonance to it. So that's the law of resonance and harmony. That things get along with other things when they are in resonance. And I believe that we can learn to create that resonance inside of us through the tuning of our instrument, through things like asana, pranayama, chanting of mantras, which is a essential part of the path of yoga that's been for thousands of years. And I don't know if you knew this, but the Vedas, which are kind of the mother scripture to yoga, the Vedas were chanted. They were before they were written down. It was an oral tradition. It was transmitted through the memorization of long forms of verses and mantras. And that memorization of those mantras and those verses of that wisdom science was passed from teacher to student over thousands of years. We actually don't really know how long. And the act of memorizing the mantra alone was enough to create the resonance in the being that was learning it. That they were knowing through the experience of the chanting of the thing what the message was. Right? It's like going back to what I was saying earlier about mango, right? I have to experience mango to know mango. I have to experience the E note to know E. I can't explain to you what the E note is. I'm like, oh, it sounds like this, or the knowing of the wisdom science of yoga and tantra and these spiritual technologies happens through the practice and the experience of the very thing that we're studying or learning. So learning to come into harmony with existence, this is point number 3. The second point was the law of resonance and the law of harmony, and thinking about families of notes and constellations of sound. and how certain sounds get along with other sounds. Now thinking about the law of harmony and how to come into harmonious relationship with ourselves, with our environment. I think it has to do with paying attention to how thoughts really make us feel, and starting to allow the thoughts that don't make us feel the best to end their life, to reach the the destruction, the return back to potential energy. Because if I'm keeping a thought in existence by feeding it energy, and it's not really a thought that's serving me, first the question is why? Like, why am I continuing to put energy into something that's not actually making me feel good? This goes for anything, right? This is, it all starts at that level, right? Like everything that we experience in our life is at its core a thought first. So paying attention to what thoughts I am giving energy to, and if they're not harmonious, allow them to reach the end of their life by dissolving back into the silence that they came, the pure potential, which is just pure awareness, the Shiva, the absolute, which is like the birth, this is the birthplace of everything. The absolute consciousness, supreme consciousness, divine consciousness. Some people call it God. Because out of God, out of supreme consciousness, things become. And they exist for a time. And eventually they return back to the source. So to reach a greater state of harmony, I want to look at how are these thoughts making me feel? Do they feel harmonious with other thoughts? Do I have an ecosystem of thoughts that are all getting along? Or do I have some thoughts that aren't getting along with other thoughts, and therefore, right? But then all of a sudden, oh, my guitar's a little out of tune. It's like, right? We have to tune our instruments. So that's the law or the principle of harmony, is tuning, learning to tune, learning to listen, learning to feel if things are vibing. And if they're not vibing, I either change the song, change the tone, change the tune, or I just put my energy in a different place to start to create different patterns. That's point number 3, the law of harmony. And I want to conclude now with the 4th and final kind of point in this satsang on music and sound. What do we do about all of this? Right? What do we do? Well, that's a really good question. My thought, the thought that resonates with me currently, the thought that I'm putting energy into, is, for myself, but also as an invitation for you, is I want to learn to pay attention to life, to learn to pay attention to my mind, to the contents of my consciousness, and to pay attention with so much sensitivity and from a space of listening in my heart, in my being, like listening with my whole being, not just listening with my mind and my intellect, but listening with my whole being, with my whole body, to all of the things that are happening. And I want to learn to identify from what I'm listening to how to pay attention to the things that are going to create the most harmony for me. And then I want to learn to put the energy from my soul into those things that are creating harmony for me. And I believe that that is the path of yoga, that the path of yoga as a path of creating coherence, right? Yoga means union. One of the definitions of yoga is to unite or to unify. That through this path of yoga, through this path of seeking coherence and unification, I can learn to play a song that is in resonance and in harmony with all of life. And then in so doing, that feels good. Just like if I play that, but then I play, that's actually kind of good, huh? That's an extra note in there. But if I go like this, I have to learn to pick out, okay, what notes are not getting along there, right? What thoughts in my constellation of thoughts are not getting along, and let me remove them so that there is space for the sound to vibrate in a way that is harmonious and in balance with everything, with the cosmic orchestra, I like to call it. It's a fun talk, and that's all I have to share. It's a fun talk. So thank you so much for tuning in, for being a part of this growing channel and Bhuta Yoga, and I look forward to sharing more with you. So please, if you've benefited and you've enjoyed this, consider subscribing. And if you want to practice with me, be sure to check out some of the other practices here on this channel. I also have a behind-the-scenes look at like what my life looks like, and that's in the vlog titled Stories of a Yogi, where I can share more of my personal story with you. And welcome to the path of harmony and beauty and discovery. It's an honor to share this path with you. So thank you so much for being here, for joining me today, and I'll see you for more very soon.